for having me. Now, I have a quick question. Did anyone go to the Dress for Success program last night? By any chance? No one? Oh, man.
I was at a meeting.
Okay. Only person who has an excuse in the room. Okay. Well, it was a great program, and we talked all about dress, and it would have been perfect for juniors and seniors. But we're going to do a little something right now. And whenever I ask a question, if you fit into this question, then stand up, okay? So, get ready to stand up. Who in here has had an internship? Okay.
I apologize if this turns off the lights, we're just trying to dim a little.
Oh, no, that's fine. Okay, you guys can be seated. How many in here have had a part-time job? Okay. Just came to you. Okay. Who in here is looking for an internship? All right, thank you, seated. And who in here is looking for a full-time job within the next year? You're going to be students forever. It's okay. Okay, well, perfect. Okay, well now that gives me a little bit of an idea of where you guys are in your whole job search process. You know, being in a junior and senior state, you're a little bit different than my freshmen and sophomores because you're looking toward the future, and if you're not, you should be looking toward the future, right? Because we all come to school for what purpose? Like, why are we getting our education? To get a job, to get a better job, to make more money, okay? Statistically, people with degrees make a lot more money. I think it's $1 million more over a lifetime than people that do not have a college degree. So we're here. We need to find a job, right? So Career Services is here to help you with that. And that, I'm particularly here to help you girls with that since we don't have. Okay, so I got, other than the one filming, okay, got it. So anyway, so I'm here to help you guys. I work with minority students, so you guys are my student population. So if you ever have questions, if you ever have an issue, anything, I've heard it all. So come and talk to me, even if it's something like salary, or what is a 401k, I've been offered this job, and there's these benefits, and I don't even understand them. Come talk to me, because I work with students on a daily basis with different issues, and I just meet you where you are. Yes? Okay, I am officed at 360 Student Union. You can go to our website, higherosugrads.com, and click on Make an Appointment, and my name will come up, and on my name it'll have minority students, and you can click and see my schedule and make an appointment with me, okay? So I have blocked off times to where I can meet with students, and you guys can come in and ask me anything. Did you sit by Megan McCool? Yes, it is. Megan McCool is our part-time employment coordinator, so she helps students with finding part-time jobs. I am housed in 360. I'm just one office over from Megan, so yeah, and I work with students on anything. So all of the career consultants can help students with wherever you are. So whether it's you're looking for a government job, or you have a quick question about going abroad and you want to work in an international country, you can come and ask us questions. How do you even do that? What does an international resume look like? What does a government resume look like? Because it is different from a typical resume. If you're wanting to go on to grad school, or you have a career in mind but you don't know if you need grad school or not, come talk to us. We've heard it all. Or if you have a major, maybe you're not happy with it, you have a different career goal in mind, you can come talk to us about that, and we can talk to you about what are some ways that you can get into that career goal, or what are some routes that you can take, okay? All right, so since juniors and seniors, you should have started your job search, or should be thinking about starting your job search, okay? So I'm going to give you general tips. That's just basically good advice in general for any student to start their job search. And there may be things that you know, that you've thought of, and there may be things that you didn't think of, okay? So hopefully you learned something new, and it's not just a repeat of what you've already heard. Okay, so here's a myth that I hear a lot from students. There is one perfect career and only one right direction for me. Absolutely wrong. There are multiple careers for every major, for everything out there. you may be interested in being an accountant, but there's numerous things you can do with that accounting degree or with that path. You can go into auditing, you can go into commercial accounting, you can go into private accounting. So know that there's more than just one right direction and one right career path for you. And I just kind of talked about that. But anyway, so there's tons of career choices. That could be as simple as the working environment that you're in that maybe you don't like, you want to change industries. I mean, we all have things about jobs that we like and don't like. So just know that just because you're in a job doesn't mean I have to stick with this career path. There's numerous options you can do with it. Another myth, picking a major and your career are the same thing. Absolutely not. Okay? So let me give an example of someone that recently I've seen. Okay, so for instance, to be a lawyer, obviously you need a law degree, you need to pass the bar, things like that. So there are certain things that you need in order to be, so if you want to be a doctor, can you just, finish with your undergrad and then start seeing patients? Well, you could, but not legally. So, if you want to be a doctor, obviously you need to go to med school. So there's obvious things that you need to do. But other than that, there's tons of fields out there, and there's tons of things you can do with your degree. I was a public relations major. So when you think public relations, a lot of students were like, oh, I have to go work for a PR firm, I have to work for a marketing firm, I have to go work for a corporation doing public relations. But my job that I'm in, the requirement was they were looking for someone that came from a public relations field. I'm a career consultant, So just to show you, just because I got a PR degree doesn't mean that it's not versatile. Or even if you have an accounting degree or an engineering degree, there's many things that you can do. It's just a matter of what do you want to do, right? So there's things that we can do with it. And just because you pick one major doesn't mean that that's the only career path for you. There's tons of things. So, I already answered this. My major will determine what I will do for the rest of my life. Absolutely not. We see lots of alumni, and that's one thing I want to tell you guys, is you're going to be alumni pretty soon, if you decide to go ahead and leave college and continue on with the career, that we see. And they come back to us and they're saying, I thought this is what I wanted to do. I thought that I needed to go into this career field and I got into it and I'm not happy, so how do I make a transition to a completely different industry? One thing I see is I'll see engineering alum and they'll come into my office and they'll say, I thought I wanted to be an engineer, I did all the classes, but I got into the career and it's just not for me. I want to make a switch to business. How do I do that?
I was 6 years wasted.
Well, you would think, but we combined their education with the business, want to do business, and he actually found a technical sales position that he loved. Okay, so his engineering degree worked. It wasn't a waste. Actually, they were blown away with his technical knowledge and ability to also relate to the clientele, to the product. So it's things like that we can do, that we can talk to you about. How do you do this? How do you make a jump from one career to another? Okay, so if you need that help, come talk to us. We see a lot of students who aren't even doing the same thing as their degree requires. So people get out into the real world and then they realize, I saw someone in this department for this company and I really liked what they were doing. And so they'll make the jump or they'll make the leap, just depending. So a lot of people after 10 years after college aren't even doing what their degree had to do with. But the whole goal is to get a degree that you're happy with and you want to choose a career, but we know that doesn't always happen. So just to kind of give you that background. All right, so you're already on the right step, right? You're here, you're in college, you're learning, you've already chosen a major, or you're choosing a major, okay? So you're on the right track, so don't get too concerned at this point because you're on the right track so far. But there's things that you can do. So you need to start the search. The average job seeker, it takes about 4 to 5 or 4 to 6 months to find a job, okay? Finding a job is a full-time job, okay? The reason it takes so long is we're looking at applications, getting them ready, getting your resume tailored, getting the cover letter tailored to each job that you apply for, going through that system, the company system for applications, putting in all the correct information, making sure everything's correct grammatically, and then inputting it into the system. You're waiting for them to contact you to let you know if you've been accepted for an interview or not. If you get accepted for an interview, you finally find out a month later maybe, and then you have another week to wait before the interview. You're prepping for the interview, you go to the interview, you may have to go through 3 or 4 rounds. So by the time you get to that job offer and start date, you've gone through 4 to 5 months just to get to that point. So it's a process. So if I say that it takes 4 to 5 months, what does that mean to you guys? When should you start searching? No, exactly, absolutely. And there's things that you can do, and I'm going to give you some tips and things that can really help you with your job search process. So on average, you'll spend about 4 to 5 days looking, or 4 to 5 hours per day looking for a job. Okay, I did it when I was in college, and this is kind of the process, you know. Some people are lucky, and the first job they apply to, they're a perfect fit, and they get it. But for most, you're going to have some highs and lows. You're going to have some peaks and valleys. You're going to have some letdowns. A job you really wanted, you ended up not even getting to the first round, or maybe you made it to the 3rd round, and it was between you and another candidate and you didn't get it. So, yeah.
Is it apply to like every field, like in terms of like medical fields, like there's like always a need?
What's your? You want to be nurse, okay? So you'll go on to RN school or LPN or something like that. Well, you know, it depends. It depends what you want to do. So, what type of nursing do you want to do? Do you want to be pediatric, geriatric? What do you want?
Neonatal.
Okay, so neonatal. Okay, so neonatal nurse. Okay. So if that's what you want to do, you have to research the places that have neonatal units, who have great units, who have a great working environment, something that you would be happy with. So I wouldn't say just apply everywhere, because then you're not really targeting any one. You're just applying to everything. You really want to target, okay? Because by targeting, that makes you more excited for the job search. It makes you actually want the job. So when you go into and write your cover letter or talk to the company or organization or department, you can really show your enthusiasm for the position, which is something that recruiters want. They don't want students who just apply just to get 100 resumes out. They want students who want to be there. So enthusiasm is key. And my suggestion to you is research. And look to see what hospitals have the best neonatal units or the best suit for you. Okay? So don't just apply everywhere. Actually narrow it down. Okay, so the whole job search. So I talked about kind of the process. I have to update online profiles, which consistently do this. And most companies, departments, medical facilities, everywhere, they usually have online systems. We do have places that you turn in applications or you send it in, but for the most part, you're going to be putting on online profiles, updating those with specific company organization systems, okay? All right, so the process. You start the search, you prepare your materials, you apply to those positions, you follow up to make sure that you received your application or your application packet, and then you start it all over again, okay? So it's a continuous cycle that you do over and over and over. And you know, this is what students do when it comes to the job search. And it is. You'll feel like you're just going crazy because you're doing the same thing over and over, but it's okay. People go through it, people do it. We have a saying that if you're not getting the interviews, that means something's wrong with your resume or to what you're applying to. If you're getting to the interviews, that means your resume is okay, but you're not getting the jobs, then that means you need to work on your interviewing skills. So what are you saying, but more importantly, what are you not saying, okay? So where do we even start for this whole job search process and journey that I've talked about and how long it takes? Well, the first thing is set goals. Know where you want to be, know what type of environment you want to be in. What's the right position for you? Because if you find that right position, the more likely you are to be happy. And that's really what it's about. It's about finding the job that makes you happy, right? I love my job. I love speaking to students. I don't make a lot of money in what I do. You know, I mean, career consulting isn't like a thriving business or anything, but it's definitely a needed profession, and I enjoy what I do. So I'm happy coming to work every day to talk to you guys. So I will sacrifice certain other things in order to be happy in my job. But that's what makes me happy. That may not be what makes you happy. Everyone has different motivations and different values that makes you tick. So think about that. What are your goals? What are your values? And if you don't know what your values are, or you don't know how to find out what your values are, come take a career assessment. We do have one specific assessment that measures your values, and it's it's all about you, right? There's no wrong answer. You can't answer this wrong as long as you pay attention and read the questions. So we can figure out your values. We can talk about what environments would you work best in. Do you work better in smaller environments or larger companies? So these are things to think about. And then make a list of potential jobs and job titles that you really want to do. So you know you can start targeting those type of jobs and those type of professions. Identify geographic locations, okay? So for your major, what is the best place to go? So for instance, maybe you want to be a computer specialist and you want to work someplace that has a lot of computer jobs opening. Well, of course, California, Silicon Valley, computer specialists are always needed there. So know exactly, maybe you have a major that has a specific geographic location or target area. So think about those things, okay? These aren't necessarily the target locations, I'm just putting those up randomly so you guys can get a good idea. You know, Oklahoma has tons of job openings, but also think about maybe you want to move back home. Maybe back home is Texas or Kansas or Colorado or something. So know what are the needs of these geographic locations. What are the needs in Oklahoma? Research those actual places. So if you want to move to Dallas and you want to live in a big metropolitan area, how do you even get there? Denver has been a really hot topic. I've seen a lot of students wanting to move to Colorado. So how do you even get there? What do you do? So you need to do research. What is even available there? Maybe you can't find specific positions in that town. Maybe it's a different job title in that region or geographical region. So research and see what's there before you just say, I'm moving there, I know I can do this, and I just have my heart set on it. And then you actually go to search for jobs starting the first semester of your senior year, and you realize, oh, they don't have any of the jobs that I want to do there. So research before you have your heart set. Visit those locations. If you've never been to San Francisco and you want to go to San Francisco, you get there and it's totally different than everything the movies have ever shown you, then that's something that you should do. Take a trip there. Ask people that live there. Do some research. See before you go. We will have students that'll say, oh, I've heard this town is so much fun. I just want to go there. So they get there, they don't have family there, they don't have a lot of friends there, and then they realize, oh, this isn't exactly as it was shown. So make sure that before you just hop into going someplace, if you want to study abroad, or if you want to go abroad and work, study abroad first. See if you even like that international culture, or if you like living over there. Research the cost of living. Okay? You might forget that there is a big difference between the cost of living in Oklahoma and here in Stillwater compared to New York City. Okay? What may be making $35,000, $40,000 here may be decent and it's absolutely doable and you can live off of it and still have a life and go shopping and stuff. You probably can't do in New York City. So think about what is the cost of living and can I even afford to live in the city if I'm looking at this type of job offer. Read community newspapers is another thing that you can do. So if you want to live in Dallas, they have tons of local metro papers. Take a look to see what's going on. Is there a lot of crime going on in that area lately? Has there been a theme? What's happening, and then it gives you a pulse and vibe for what's really going on in that location. And then the other thing, improving your professional image. That is huge, okay? When you're trying to put your best foot forward, you have to be a professional. So when you're talking to recruiters, you're applying for jobs, you have to do small things like have an appropriate voicemail, okay? How many people have heard this before or know this? How many people have actually changed their voicemail to something professional? Maybe I should have you guys stand up. But yeah, when you're in college, my friends are calling me, maybe my parents, they don't really care, my cousins, not a big deal. But when you start the application process, and someone hears an unprofessional voicemail, you may not even get the interview. We've called students before, and they'll have crazy things on their voicemail, and I think, what are you doing? What are you doing to yourself? And I put no music. Are there still things that ring back? All right, so my generation, we had ringback tones.
Popular.
Okay, yeah, they were so popular when I was in college. So that's something that I would hear a lot were ringback tones. Sorry, I'm a little out of date. But yeah, your email address. Something as simple as having a professional email address. Not having a professional one can count you out for a job. I get applications all the time for positions, and I sit on a lot of committees for hiring. I'll see professionals. People 40, 50 years old. You should know this, right? You should know, to be a professional. And I will see the most unprofessional email addresses, and I think, my students know better than this. Big Papa 10 is not there, okay? So, so obviously right there, it puts me in a mindset of who is this person? I don't even want to meet them. I don't want to meet them. I'm good. I get all the information I need from that email address. Done. Okay, so here's your OK State email. You have it for life now, so you can use it. If you don't check your OK State email very often, you're not going to use it for job searching. Probably won't use it after you leave OSU. Get a professional email address, Gmail, Yahoo, AOL, whatever. Your first and last name, maybe a few digits afterwards. So it's just something simple like that. Privacy settings on social networking sites. So I'm not exactly social networking savvy or anything. I would never say I'm the greatest at it, but I always think that you guys are the experts. Your generation that has basically grown up with social networking. When I was in college, Facebook did not exist in the very beginning, okay? Hard to believe, right? I know it looks like that, but it's more about Facebook didn't exist. So I didn't have to worry about companies going onto my Facebook page to research me or anything like that, or look at pictures of me. I was in college too, not too long ago. I say Facebook didn't happen. It didn't happen until my junior year. And actually, OSU wasn't even on Facebook when I got my invite from my friend at Stanford. So I had to type in Oklahoma State, and that's how old it was. Okay, so it's so brand new. You had to be a college student. You had to have a .edu address, and so there wasn't companies. But now, companies use social networking not only to promote themselves, but also to look at candidates. Okay, so enable those privacy settings. If you have inappropriate content, like pictures, wall postings, I don't know if you guys even use Facebook anymore, but to me it's still cool. Or Instagram even, pictures, there you go. Start taking those down and tagging yourself from those, because they will look at you, they will judge you based on your pictures, and I know that may not represent how you work or who you are in the workplace, but that's what they're going to think automatically, okay? So if you have pictures of you out there partying or hanging out with people, just be careful. Even if it's in the background and you're not holding the container or whatever, still be careful, take yourself down. If you have to, just completely take down your social networking sites during the job search process. Like your wall, if you want to deactivate your wall until you've gone through the whole process, go ahead and do so, okay? So just make sure that you have those set. Yes?
I thought we could still do those things even if they are private.
See, you guys are the experts.
Well,
but not all of it. They can't go through your pictures and stuff if everything's privatized. They can't just start clicking through everything. Some things they may be able to see that you can't control. Facebook has changed so much, just even in the past 6 months. Yes?
To add on what you were saying, I know a few of the seminars that I've been to that talks about career professionalism, that Twitter, just be super professional, because it doesn't matter if your Twitter account is private. Someone, people have people they hire to get into people's Twitter accounts to look at their job applications.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you have to question posting it or not, just don't post it.
Yeah, just don't post it. Absolutely. I agree. Watch wording. Also, if, I know Twitter, you have to shorthand things, but, just watch slang and certain usage, because that does affect your professional image as well. I know even working with social media, be very careful going through the job search process. If you're going to work for a company that typically tends to be a little bit more private, or maybe you just got done with an interview, they're talking about how horrible this interviewer was and how they were just a jerk and an idiot, and you say things that are inappropriate or just ridiculous, they may see it, they may resend the offer, anything like that. That's actually happened. There's a lot of cases of how social media can get you fired and how social media can keep you from getting a job. So my advice, start thinking about your professional image at this point. Social media is the first place I'd start. Just watch what you're saying, watch what your friends are posting. You know, I have a privacy setting on my Facebook that students can, but no one can post on my wall unless I accept it. So make sure that you do things like that. Yeah. So I have that enabled because again, I work for the university. I work with students. I have to be a professional to my students. So you guys aren't seeing these crazy things my friends post. But I have friends who live all over the country, live all over the world. They don't work necessarily for a traditional working setting. They may work for themselves or work for, you know, graphic design, some crazy company. So to them, they can post these crazy things. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. Please do not put this on my wall. I don't want my students to see this. So I have to be very careful even in my profession. And, you know, you think I'm 30, you'd think that my friends and people would be professional, but, you know, age does not matter. I'm telling you right now. So just put your best foot forward. Start the professionalism right now. Remove inappropriate content and invest in interview suits, okay? So professional dress. And that also depends on the industry that you're looking to go into, okay? If in doubt, go for professional. So professional would be, for women, we can get away with a little more creativeness. So accessories, we can do accessories where guys can't really, but we have to limit our accessories, okay? So like something small earrings, very small jewelry, watches, things like that, that's professional attire. So invest in a good suit because fit really matters. And with women, you know, I don't like suit blazers because I feel like they're too structured on me. And I'm like, okay, I'm already like, you know, tall. Like the last thing I need to do is look like this. But they have some really nice tailored ones now. You can get them really well fitted. Like when I started my job search, they didn't have those. So now they're really well fitted. They're very cute. Bianca's a perfect example.
Okay.
My mom, hey, come on.
No.
Okay, so what she's wearing is nice. You know, like you can wear
Did you show the camera? They have to know what you're.
You can wear a dress. You can wear a blazer. That's absolutely fine. You know, guys obviously can't get away with that. They have to wear slacks. They have to wear their blazers. We can wear skirts. We can wear pants. It's up to us. Fit is very important. Okay, so just make sure you invest in a nice suit or nice dress clothes for those opportunities. Last thing you want to do is get a phone call for a job interview and you're like, oh, it's tomorrow. I have to run out and find a suit. I have to do this because you may need it tailored, right? You know, they make suits very general, very standard. We are not all like in our body shape, and some people are so fortunate to walk in and find the perfect fit. But if you're anything like me, I have to get it tailored because I have broader shoulders and I have to get it narrow.
I'm short. I'm almost like the tailor made.
Exactly.
Aww.
You know, and if you can tailor, that is an excellent skill. You will save yourself lots of money in the future. But pants. Like tailoring your pants, just making sure the fit is okay. Okay, so just invest in appropriate attire.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
For like the blazers, I'm a huge I love blazers. So I have a bunch of different
You're
colors.
cute now.
Yeah, I have like
Where were they
yellow.
when I was here?
Okay. I for career fair and everything, everyone's always the penguin suit, and I don't like being like everyone else.
Okay.
So is it okay to wear like a white blazer or something that pops that goes with something that's neutral?
What's your major?
I'm engineering.
No.
No. Okay.
Okay. So if you were like graphic design and public relations, even interior design, they have more creativity and more freedom to dress more colorful because it's a personality thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to engineering, business, more traditional majors, honestly don't. I know penguin suit, everyone looks alike, but the truth is, you don't want them to look at you and say, oh my gosh, did you see that girl in the white blazer? What was she thinking when everyone else is wearing black? Everyone else is black, you're getting jobs, apparently there's not a problem with it. So for engineering, I would definitely say for the interview process,
Okay.
where gray, black, navy blue, say something like that, don't go for the, look at me, pop of color, okay? But once you get the job and you get into that company, I mean, it's a little different, the rules are different,
Yeah,
okay?
I wore a really light pink blazer to work when I was in Houston.
Yeah, that's fine.
And they were like, where's your battery? Because I was so bright. Where's the battery?
The energizing bunny?
Yeah. But I was just wondering because, I mean, I've seen some people, like some guys, they like to wear like a lighter gray or kind of plaid blazers that they look so indie. And they'll go to the career fair, but they land a job and I'm like,
And you know, it depends, like,
depends on the person.
yeah, it really depends on the company. Yeah, some companies are very traditional, and the thing is, you just want to err on the side of caution. You don't want to be remembered for that person who wore this crazy blazer, or did you see what they're wearing? It's just always better to stick to the more conservative and traditional. You know, if that was the reason you didn't get the job, wouldn't you feel silly? Like, I wore a white blazer, oh my gosh, like, end of the world. But just don't do that, just try to stay professional. Yeah. Okay,
When they say white is gray, is also considered unusual?
yes, that is also considered unusual. I mean, we're thinking about traditional, conservative, professional. And when we think professional, business professional, there are more traditional colors. It's not to say that in the workplace that would not be fine. That would be absolutely fine. But when you're meeting them for the first time and making that first impression, you just don't want to stand out for the wrong reasons. I've seen students come in and it looks like they were dressed by a professional. I mean, they have the tie, or like girls will have like everything so perfect. And I'm like, I don't care if I have that same stuff. I can never pull that off. Like, you look amazing because it happened. So I remember them for that reason, because they did things right. But you just don't want to be remembered for the wrong thing, okay? Yeah.
So like, I know there's like more things as far as like hairstyles that are being accepted, but you want to have make sure like your hair is neutral, or not neutral, but like just a brown, black, whatever, should be normal. But how, and you like pull it back, but like what is like not acceptable, like? Probably
All right, so a natural looking coloring, okay? So blue, I've been seeing a lot of students with blue put in their hair, greens put in their hair. Sorry, oh, I picked on you, not picking on you, I'm sorry. But just to say, you know, those other students who do it, not you. Those other students, yeah, those other students. But things like that, that's typically not traditional enough for a professional setting or for interviewing. So we had a student last night, she had blue hair, and she was asking the speaker, would this be okay? And she was like, can you cover it up? Can you do something? Because when you're in your job, it's different, okay? It's a little different. The rules are a little bit different on what is professional and appropriate for that industry and environment. When it comes to interviewing, always stay professional. And you know, unless your recruiter is matching what you're wearing, like, it's still best to stay on the professional side.
Besides haircut, like what kind of styles, like, because it's like important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can put it back. Like, I mean, my hair, when it's curly and it's kind of humid outside, straight doesn't look pretty. It doesn't go straight anymore. It's kind of this fro lion's mane. So I put it back a lot. So putting it back is absolutely fine. Putting it like you have is absolutely fine as well too. You can even put it half back. That would be fine as well.
Because I was talking like in terms of like when you have braids, it's like different. You can't use
Yeah, yeah, you're kind of limited on what works and what doesn't work. I mean, if you're gonna do braids, don't like do designs and something and then like some high thing. Okay, Bianca's is actually okay. That is actually okay. But I'm saying like, I've seen some things that I'm just like, that's not Your braids are fine. They're absolutely fine. Like having your hair like that is even fine. Like, okay, having your hair pinned back like that is absolutely fine. And
There's like a lot
lower
of
cut.
girls that not good.
Okay, so like I may not have the very blonde one, but I don't think the rest looks too bad. Like if you took out those really whitish yellow blonde ones, I think if you put in just like typical colors, I think it looks fine. Yeah, so you're not too far. Any other questions about that? Yes.
I was just gonna chime in, I've done like a lot of business stuff, and I'm old now. But like anyway,
I
what
see
I've
her all the
always
time. She's like a pro now. I don't know I'm here speaking.
No,
you.
you work. I just wanted to say, us as women, I was just saying like, I've always been told like don't be distracting. So like with your hair comment, you know, just something like neat, even like down, long just neat and out of the way.
Yeah.
With your clothes, make sure your cleavage isn't showing because you don't want the guy to like, oh well,
Yeah.
she was trying to, or the girl,
Yeah.
oh she thinks she. So don't do that. So calm down on the colors. Don't be too like, don't put too much perfume because it might like be nostalgia. Like the guy, like oh my ex-girlfriend used to wear that. So I just been told like a lot of stuff. So just stuff like that. Just be as undistracting. That's why people are P-boys. That's why people are P-boys. Don't be distracted.
Exactly. You're not trying to stand out like, oh, look at me, I look good in
No.
this suit, like sitting around. Like, you're just trying to say, like, look, I can compete for this position. I'm just as professional as these guys over here. Just because I'm a female, I don't need to, like, show off anything else extra. You know, like, even earrings. Do not wear anything that dangles. You know, that is a distraction. You know, it catches your eye if it's moving and you're talking. And I can be a head talker sometimes, so, like, it would totally fly off. So you just have to be very, like, minimal and traditional is better. Okay? Yes.
I just want to let you know that we have about 9 minutes
9
left.
minutes. All right.
And just to make sure, you all please fill out your individual workshop evaluations and turn them into me on your way out, but this one's will be on its own.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, one question, like hand motion,
Yeah.
sometimes, like,
Hand talkers.
yeah, that's also like not good, right? But
Well,
we'll need to,
if you're
like,
doing this, it's not good. But if you're someone who, like, I
like,
hand
does
talker.
it like just a little
Yeah,
bit?
if I make my points, I do things like that, that's okay. Just make sure you, and actually, make sure you edit it, okay? So that you're not always doing something like this and crazy. And something you can do is you can go online to hireshootguides.com and you can practice interviews through Interview Stream, and it records you answering questions, and it puts you in those interview situations so you can see yourself. Are you moving your hands? Are you moving your head? What are you doing that could be distracting to the interviewer? Okay, so I'd recommend definitely going there. Yes, someone had a question up here, someone had, yes.
I was just gonna say, like, if you have a portfolio, it would be hard, I know you kind of want to use your hands. Have something that's kind of.
Are you talking about for the career fair specifically? Yeah, I mean, if you have a portfolio at the career fair, it can be difficult to hold, and yeah, I mean, you're not going to have a lot of hand motions and stuff if you're holding something in your hand. And yeah, and I would recommend everyone go get a portfolio. It's $5 in career services. Very professional. It's a nice place to put your resume. So let me run through this real quick. See if there's anything, maybe I'll answer a question later on in this presentation. Keep copies of your resume. I don't even know where I was. So identify potential employers. So know who the companies are, who's going to be hiring, who's coming to the job fairs. Research the typical entry-level position that they might have. Okay, know if they need an internship or if you need an internship before you even start with that company. Some companies will not hire you for entry-level positions if you did not intern for them. So pay attention to that when you're looking at those job descriptions. If you have not done an internship and you're kind of wavering back and forth whether you should do it or not, do it. It is a great experience. I did it in college. That's what launched me into my career. That's what got me into my first position after college. Great experience. I've never learned so much about industry, about bureaucracy, about different working environments in my internship, and I had great supervisors to help me. So make a list of 10 to 20 possible employers that you will contact, and yes.
Oh, I was just gonna say, it's also good, like, I did an internship with Channel 6 when I was sophomore, and I was just saying, sometimes if you get kind of into the, like, I was working in the newsroom, but I'm a journalism major, so it kind of helps you figure out maybe what you want to do, maybe on the side you want to work in, just because you're actually able to be in that environment and know what it's like. So
Absolutely.
I actually want to do production instead of paperwork now.
Exactly. Because you learn that. And that's what the internship is for. It's for you to learn. You are supposed to act like a sponge and learn as much as you can in a summer internship or a fall internship and soak everything up so whenever you start your new career or start after college, you're ready. You already know that information and you can go into your career with that information. Okay, organize the job search. So first thing, go to hireshootguides.com, register on the hire system, set up an account, post your resume, look at postings regularly. We have deadlines popping up all over the place for on-campus interviews and applications. Attend the career fairs coming up, the SEEK fair is happening. The business career fair, even though it says business, there's still people seeking all majors. So if you don't have a business or an engineering background for one of these two fairs, the business career fair is going to be your best bet because it's open to all majors. And they will be recruiting all majors. We have all kinds of companies, and for the first time in the history of the business fair, we're completely sold out.
Wow.
This is great news for you guys, because this means companies are wanting to be here to hire OSU students, because you guys have done, or because alumni have gone out into the workforce, and they've done such a great job, they're coming back for our new students, right? So go to these fairs, network, talk to these employers. Yes?
Two quick questions. There's a fair going on right now, right? Or
Today?
yesterday?
It was the agriculture fair, the Kastner fair. So agriculture,
I didn't know. What is that?
the ag fair, so it's for ag majors. You cannot be an ag major, but if you're interested in ag companies, like AGCO, Coke has some things in there, just things that are more agriculture based, then that would have been a good fair for you to go to.
And my second question was for the higher OSU grads, is there like a certain amount of time where you have to reset your password and stuff like that?
No, it should stay. If you want to reset, it's really easy to reset your passcode. So if you go back to the hire system, you click on log into the hire system, hit reset your passcode, it'll generate one and send it to your email, but it shouldn't update.
It just told me that it'll be back with me on business day.
It hasn't yet.
I don't know.
Let me get your name. Let me get your name and I can look your account up and see what's going on. And then if there's still an issue from there, I can get you in touch with our IT person and then he'll be able to help you further. Okay? And if you have any problems like that logging in, contact us. You know, we will help you. We want you guys to be hired, right? Like, we want you guys to get jobs, so don't let something like a password stop you from that future job. Yes?
Do they have like people there?
People that can help, like,
The business one does.
yeah, we do have the business.
I've never went to one.
There's a list on
Yeah.
career, where it says events coming up, it has a list of all of them.
I'm so proud of you guys. Like, you're answering questions for me. This is amazing. So good job. But there will be people from the medical field there. If you're wanting to apply, like whenever you start to get ready to apply, come see me or come see someone in the pre-med advising, because we can help you a little bit further with those applications and stuff, because it will be a little bit different than like grad school might be. Did you have a question?
Talk about like her, on the psych major or something. So that's why I never.
They will. Every single major, we have companies looking for psych majors because they want them to work in like a sales business format to do like consumer stuff, to like consumer behavior patterns, stuff like that. So we do have positions for all majors, no matter what it is. Yes.
Okay, I just want to say, like, I've noticed,
Go ahead, no, you.
I've noticed, like, some people how, like, say, for instance, the ad, like, the business person or thing, I don't want to, like, there's no that's good. And, like, a lot of companies, like, even if that company is not directly of your major, like, you could actually maybe come up with a position they never thought of.
Absolutely. Networking is huge. I actually got my internship, and I don't know how much time I left, probably like a minute, but I got my internship through networking. It was something that had never been done, never been created before. I was working a part-time job, talking to this person, and networked my way into an internship. It had never been open, and she just decided, yeah, why not? You should be an intern for us. Yeah, that's a great suggestion, and got it. So things like that, you can come in with this idea, like a psych major. Let's say a company has a sales department, and you want to talk to them about consumer behavior patterns and understanding that. You could talk to them about that, and they would say, you know, that's kind of interesting. Let me get back and let's see what's going on. Or you may talk to a recruiter who has enough power and pull to say, yeah, we would love someone like you. So it's things like that, how you can network your way into a job, but you have to come up with a compelling argument for how that's going to fit to the company, how that's even going to be an asset to the company, right? So you got to sell yourself, right? Sell yourself for the right reason, okay? So real quick, organize your computer. Applications, make sure that if you're applying to different jobs and you're having different resumes, you're tailoring your resume, your cover letter, that you label it correctly with the company, the name of the position, because there may be multiple positions within a company, and then even the date. You don't have to, because usually it saves it, but you can put that in there and just say, hey, the assistant for the Bar Association, assistant for Delco, assistant for Raytheon, and just save that information, because for every resume and every time you apply to a new job, the description is going to be different. You're going to want to update that, and then also keep some sort of digital spreadsheet that can showcase who you applied to, when did you apply, who do you need to follow up with, what's the website, what's the job description, everything. Label everything. You have to get organized. That is very important for the job search, because the worst thing would be someone calling you and saying, hey, we want to interview you for this job, and you're thinking, I don't even know which job I applied to. So make sure that you keep it organized. You know what it's for, so you can review it, especially when it comes to the interview. Get your resume ready, okay? Come meet with a career consultant, upload it to the hire system, write cover letters, get it ready, have it reviewed. Always send a cover letter if you're applying to a job. Always absolutely do it. Start networking, tell everyone you know that you're looking for a job. Get references ready, ask for permission, start applying through. There's a lot of part-time information, newspapers, local job ads, walk-ins. Hire OSU grads, cannot plug us enough. Go there, check it out. Same thing, full-time resources, LinkedIn, Indeed, Simply Hired, local chamber sites, local websites, corporate websites, newspapers, and hireosugrads.com, duh. And then we want you to really master the interview. So once you get there, what are you going to do? So come do a mock interview with a career consultant. Go to mock interview day. Sign up now. Absolutely sign up for that. That is the greatest experience you're going to get for a realistic interview without it really being an interview. And you get feedback from these recruiters on the spot. And they tell you how you did. You can also record yourself, do an interview stream, write thank you letters. So I'm trying to go through all this. But the top 10 things that companies really want: communication skills. They want this generation to be able to communicate effectively, verbal and written. Honesty, teamwork, okay? Big thing, teamwork. Work ethic, analytical abilities, flexibility, interpersonal skills, motivation, computer skills, being detail oriented. Woo, got there. Yes. Okay, so anyways, if you have any questions or you want to find out more, go to hireosugrads.com. And I never answered your question, I'm so sorry.
I'm my college person, and then my resume is very college specific, and I'm an education major.
Okay.
But I've never had a first job, and I'm trying to find one.
Okay.
Does that turn off, like, if I'm not applying for education, does that turn off future employers, or what should I do?
It depends. It depends on what you're targeting. You know, there's jobs for everyone. The inexperience, the experience. I would say probably book an appointment with me, because I think I need to go a little bit more in depth and find out more information and look at your resume to really get a good grasp of where you are and what you would be doing. So just because you're inexperienced and you're about to graduate, go to these career fairs. I mean, 180 companies, we have thousands of jobs posting on our system. Apply to them, do them, attend these things, because you never know what opportunities out there for you.
To our next speaker. This is Miss Maggie Jackson. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
She's the coordinator for the Study Abroad program. Most of you who have met with me have heard one thing from me, and that is go study abroad. That's my biggest regret for my own personal undergraduate experience. I did not go study abroad. So please give Maggie your attention. One other thing real quick, in the back of your folders is the evaluation forms. When this is over, please leave those on the table or bring them up to me and we'll call it good. And Maggie's going to leave here shortly, so I'm going to let her get right to the presentation. Let's welcome Maggie.
guys are here at OSU. Does anyone know where the study abroad office is? You three do. Yeah, second floor of Student Union. So we're right next door to the multicultural office, where you guys did your freshman browse. We're very near there. I'm from Oklahoma. I studied abroad a few times in my undergrad and really got a lot out of the experience. I did a semester in the Czech Republic, a summer in Nepal. Does anyone know where Nepal is by chance? Disclaimer, I didn't know where it was until I decided to go there. It's the little country between China and India. It's where Mount Everest is. So if you guys kind of have an idea where the Himalayas are on the map, that's where Nepal is. And I spent a year in France after I graduated. So I'm just going to give you guys kind of an overview of study abroad today. Has anyone thought about studying abroad? Sounds good. Is anyone planning on it already? Yeah, I know that we've had some people for advising appointments. So I'll give you an overview, stop me with questions, and then we'll go from there. Here's a video that you guys can see another time. So who can study abroad? Students of all majors, we've literally had every major at OSU study abroad. Students of all levels, so who is a freshman in here? Okay, and sophomores? Juniors or seniors? Freshmen, sophomores? Okay, so starting your freshman year, you can go on faculty-led programs, and that's where you go with an OSU professor and a group of students. Those are for each of the colleges. And then starting your sophomore year, you guys can do semester and academic year. And then summer is fair game for everybody too. So even if you want to go abroad this summer, you can do that. You don't have to speak a second language to study abroad. That's sometimes a misconception. Most of our partner schools, even if the host language is a different language, they offer courses in English. So for example, I studied abroad in the Czech Republic. I do not speak Czech. I went knowing I could say Dobry den, which is good day, and that was all I knew. So you guys can definitely go to places where English is, maybe most people's second language. Is anyone studying a foreign language? German? What are you studying? French? Vietnamese. Does anyone speak a second language, maybe? What do you guys speak? Spanish. Nice. Spanish. So cool. So for you guys, you can take your courses in Spanish or in English, and then if you get your German or your French up, you can do French or German or English. So, and then of course students from all different backgrounds study abroad. Who do you study abroad with? So like I said, there are faculty-led programs where you go with an OSU professor. So those you go with a group of students from OSU, sometimes a few of the U.S. colleges. You guys can link your applications together, so if you want to go with a friend, you can do that. We've also had cousins, siblings, boyfriends and girlfriends, if you really want to test your relationship. I guess that's one way to do it. Or you can go by yourself. So I'd say about 70% of OSU students that go abroad not knowing anybody, but then there's still the others that go with friends. So you can do either or. Of course, students of the host country, but also the cool thing is you meet people from all over the world. So we're very fortunate that we speak English as our first language or second language, because a lot of people speak it as their second language. So you can it's kind of the common language among most international students. How long can you go for? So you can do as short as a week over spring break. So there's winter session, spring break, summer courses for about a week to 10 days. And then summer is anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months, and then there's a semester. Has anyone thought about a semester before? Considered it? Yeah, so that's an option, and then a year. We've had students try out the short term first, so who's been abroad? Has anyone outside of the U.S.? Where have you gone?
I went
To France? Cool. In high school or what? In high school. Where have you gone? To Panama? Cool. And was that with family or for school? Yeah, family. Did you raise your hand?
Yeah,
England. Nice. And then I saw hands over here. Where have you guys gone?
Oh, no,
Okay. That's just continued. Okay. So yeah, I had never been outside of the U.S. before I did a semester, so you do not have to have any international experience to study abroad. I've never gone on a plane ride like that. But if you do have that already, that's really cool. And so sometimes students start with short term. You can try a week-long program if you like that, and you go on for a semester. When you study abroad, like I said, basically anytime classes in session, the breaks and during the year, you can study abroad. You can also do this during grad school. So is anyone considering grad school? Yeah? How you guys are an impressive group. So you guys can do that. Like OSU, for example, you can transfer up to 6 hours from abroad. But it depends from school to school. So this is just a few examples of places you can go or you've had students go recently. This is by no means the extensive list. And so this is where I'm going to run through, and if I'm giving you guys a full scholarship to study abroad, where do you go? So it doesn't have to be up here, it can be any country in the world. Where would you study abroad?
France, probably.
France? Yeah? Where would you go? Germany? Or Japan? Cool.
I'm gonna agree.
Greece?
Australia.
Australia. Where would you go?
Italy.
Uh-huh.
Trying to think of the monkey shaver.
I can go back to you too if you want.
I'm not sure. I think somewhere small. A place will be very well.
Okay. Where would you go? Korea? And then we'll go this way. Where would you study abroad? Italy? That's a good one. The UK? Well, it's really popular. Where would you study abroad?
Can you do it multiple times?
Yeah, this is your first choice though. Where would your first one be? Bangkok. Cool. Got a partner there. South Africa. South Africa. Nice. Where would you guys go? Australia? Greece.
My question would be, can you choose what city? Because for me, I have family in Phoenix. So can I stay there?
You can. Yeah, and I'll talk, there's different types of programs, so I'll talk to you about one option there where you can choose where you go. Yeah. Norway. Cool. You got a partner for again. You good? France. Korea. Cool. Where'd you go? Don't want to study abroad. Well, good, because we have a program called National Student Exchange, which is within the U.S., so it's good. For France.
No, I'm just saying.
No, don't want to study abroad. That's cool. It's fine. France.
Spain.
Spain. Cool.
Italy or England.
Italy, England. Nice.
Belize.
Belize. Africa. Okay. Spain.
Spain and Greece.
Okay, cool. So these are everywhere that you guys named. We have a study abroad program, even in the U.S. So I guess I can talk about the types of programs really quick. So we talked about faculty-led programs. The really popular option for long-term is called reciprocal exchange, and that's where you go for a semester academic year. You have 70 options, so OSU has 70 partner schools you can choose from all over the world. The very cool thing about it is you pay OSU tuition and fees. So you might be in Korea and Seoul taking 15 hours of credit, but you'd be paying for that like you were taking those hours here in Stillwater, like the classroom here. And then you can use your federal financial aid, you can use your scholarships for that. And on top of that, there's study abroad scholarships. So that's definitely the most affordable option if you're thinking long-term. It's called reciprocal exchange.
So you allowed to use scholarships that you receive here over there as well?
Yeah, because all of the credit comes back as resident credit, so it looks like you just took the courses here in Oklahoma. So you can. So if you have OLAP, that's when you can use. There's a really cool scholarship that if you receive a Pell Grant. It's called the Gilman. And that's a study abroad scholarship. It's $3,000 to $4,000 in the summer, $5,000 for a semester. 1 out of 3 students get it, and that's a great scholarship that you can apply for. And I can talk to you more about that. You know, now I left my card, so after this presentation, if you guys are still interested in study abroad, then we can set up an appointment to kind of go over specifics for you. And in addition to the reciprocal exchange, there's also something called affiliated and approved, and those are study abroad companies. So for example, we don't have a partner in South Africa, but we do work with other organizations in the US that can help you get to South Africa, and they're approved by OSU. You can't use your OSU scholarships for those, but you can use your federal financial aid. So what do you study when you study abroad? The language and culture of the host country, and this is in the class, but also just going to the grocery store and just being out on the street. A special topic of interest, so this could be, I don't know, if you have some heritage that you're exploring or a personal hobby. I mean, we had an engineer once who was really interested in Japanese language and culture, so he took off a year from engineering and went and studied Japanese language and culture and got a scholarship for that. So it could be even outside of what you're studying, but you can also, of course, take courses towards your degree plan and also courses towards your major. If you guys have any gen eds left and you want to study abroad, please save them. It's much easier to find gen eds abroad than specific courses. Not to say that you won't, but it's just a good thing to save them just in case. And this is a good time to say, it's really important that you guys tell your academic advisor that you're interested in study abroad, because you'll work with your academic advisor in our office to make sure we find courses that will transfer back for you. Okay, and then of course courses in the host language or in English, either or. You guys have questions at this point at all? No? I will say students, oh yes, question.
I don't want to pay something for you to do like a semester long. You can still use like flying trade, but what if you do something like a week long or like over the summer, is that all the sense that every month?
You do pay, like OSU, their back to live programs, you pay the tuition and fees for that course, like you took it here, but the additional things like your flight, room and board, you pay for that on your own. So yeah. And that's where like the Gilman scholarship I mentioned, the one you have to have a Pell Grant to apply for, that's when it would help with those expenses. And then there are lots of merit-based scholarships too. Is anyone studying liberal arts? So sociology, psychology, English, anything like that? Yeah, for you guys, there's a scholarship through Arts and Sciences called the Bailey, and they've given upwards of $27,000 to one OSU student. So, and that's just one example. For everything that you guys are studying, there's a study abroad scholarship out there that you can apply for. So yeah, how do you pay for it? This is always the biggest question. If you start planning early, like I said, you can apply for scholarships. A lot of the deadlines, though, are due a year in advance. So if you're a freshman, you want to go abroad sophomore year, you need to talk this year about applying for those scholarships. Let's see. You can also use your OSU scholarships. And then our office, even if you want a week-long program, there's a $500 scholarship that you're basically guaranteed if you apply for it and see the semester before you go. So like for spring break programs, that scholarship's due October 10th. If you're going to run the summer, it's going to be due in January. So, has anyone found a program they're interested in? What are you thinking?
The South African Spring 2015.
Oh, nice. Okay, good. Saw another thing maybe? Okay, great. So we do have a program called National Student Exchange. Most people don't know about it, but it's awesome. Lucas, who works in our office, he spent a semester in Alaska. So there's 190 universities you can choose from. You go study that university for a semester or a year, and you have the option of either paying in-state, like we pay here, or you can pay in-state in that state. So like Lucas, for example, he went to Alaska, and in-state Alaska tuition was cheaper than Oklahoma, so he paid for that. We have, like this semester, there's a student in the state of Washington, Colorado, Georgia, so there are lots of options with this, and the courses come back just like we took them here at OSU too, resident credit. So that's pretty cool. Why would you do this? You can check out grad schools. It's a great opportunity to do that. You have family in another part of the U.S. Or I would just say that U.S. is huge. Like when I go abroad, I get a lot of America questions, like, why do Americans do this? Or why did you vote for so-and-so? Or, and all of these things. And I say, whoa, like I'm from Enid, Oklahoma. Like I can give you one perspective, but like our country is huge and there's lots of cultures all over the U.S. So this is a really cool opportunity to go to, kind of explore another U.S. culture. Does anyone have questions about National Student Exchange?
Can you do a scholarship for this one too?
So if you choose the plan where you pay OSU tuition and fees, there's the A plan and the B plan. That one you can use your OSU scholarships like OLAP and things, or get the state and the OSU, and then you can use your federal financial aid. If you choose to pay in-state and that state, you can use your federal financial aid, but you don't use your OSU scholarships. So yeah, that's the distinction there. And there are a few summer options. I forgot to say this includes Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, and Guam, and then also some universities in Canada. So outside of traditional U.S. We've had students go to the University of Hawaii too. That would be cool. So there's lots of options there. So the benefits of study abroad. It's a lot of fun. It's this huge adventure where you kind of put yourself out of your comfort zone. But by doing that, you also really build yourself professionally and academically in cool ways that you might not be able to do here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. So I know for me personally, I'm going abroad. I thought I was going to, but not until I went abroad and I really gained this cool sense of independence. And I'm a lot braver now, as funny as that sounds, and where I'm going. And it was because I kind of had to be. But I made friends from all over, and it was an awesome experience. You build intercultural communication skills, so just you're more comfortable interacting with all different types of cultures, which then translates when you're doing business later or working in different industries. We were talking earlier about engineers in Turkey, and you have all these experiences that you can build upon. international perspective on what you're studying, and of course your future career choice in industry. Almost every industry now is affected and operates in some way on an international level. And then of course the language skills and travel skills you gain. So how can you get started now? We do have a website. It's kind of dated, you guys, to be honest, but we're working on getting a new one up, and it should be up at the end of this month. Fingers crossed. We have a Facebook page, though, as my freshman sister says, nobody uses Facebook anymore. It's all Twitter and Instagram, so I guess so. You can stop by our office, so we're 242 Student Union. And like I said, the really important thing is if you're serious about this, tell your academic advisor. So when you meet with them this semester to plan your courses for next semester, mention this. And in your hands, does everyone have a schedule for study abroad day? Yeah? Oh, you have them? Okay.
Anybody need one?
So on Thursday, a week from today, we're having an event called Study Abroad Day. We'll have a fair from 10 to 1. So all of the colleges will be out there with their faculty-led programs. We'll have from all of our affiliated partners, so the study abroad companies we work with, they'll have a representative, and then our office will be out there. So you can look at all the programs offered. And then throughout the evening and the afternoon and evening, we'll have presentations. So some are geared towards foreign languages, some towards majors, just different things. So check that out. On the back, there's a description of a lot of the presentations. And it's all a week from today, Thursday, September 18th. So if you're interested in study abroad at all, that's a really good opportunity for checkout and some options. Questions about study abroad day at all?
Why are some of them like crooked? Does that just mean that?
I'm not a graphic designer by any means. I made this. So at the bottom, it was just evening presentations that didn't fit on the timeline. So that's no reflection of the content
Like the
of the presentation.
What's the admissions one?
We work with a study abroad company or program called International Studies Abroad, and a branch of their organization is called Veritas, and they combine missions abroad with study abroad, and so that's what that one is. So it's at the Baptist College Ministry, just off campus. Okay. Good question. There was another hand, maybe? Okay. So yeah, check out one of those events if you're interested. Let's see. There are other ways to get involved. So there are tons of international events on campus. ISS office, International Students and Scholars, is across from my office, and they plan really cool events, lots of evening things. So watch for those. There's a study abroad floor on Wednesday, and so if you want to live with the exchange students, and they're from all over Europe and Asia and South America, that's a good. Is that where you live? Are you in Wednesday right now? On the 10th floor? Yeah. So it's a really good opportunity to meet the exchange students. We do have an intro to study abroad class. It's a 1-hour credit course, and then also there's a minor in international studies. Final thought, beware of deadlines. So they do sneak up on you. I am a procrastinator by nature, so I was guilty of this when I was undergrad. So if you do want to study abroad, if you want to go abroad next year long term, let's start planning now. And then if you want to go abroad your junior year, you want to start really making decisions your sophomore year. Oh, and I forgot to say, on the faculty-led programs, you're not limited to your college. So even though you might be an arts and sciences student, you can go to business, ag, any of them. And so I always thought that I was limited to arts and sciences, but that's not the case. These are our peer advisors. They're wonderful. Cole spent a year in Peru. Lucas was in Alaska. Adrienne was in Italy. She's nutritional sciences. And then Carly was in Slovenia. So if you guys want to set up an appointment, I'll leave my card here. You can send me an email, and I'll help you set up an appointment. You can meet with them or with me. Any questions at all?
Okay, so this is the last workshop before we wrap things up with Jesus, Bianca, and I. I'd like to introduce you to a very important person, in my mind anyway, for this campus. This is Margaret Betts. She's with the Financial Aid Office. She is the guru, the way I look at it. She can answer just about anything related to financial aid. And I know you guys are at different stages of your career. Some of you, this is your brand new first semester here at Oklahoma State. Some of you may be wrapping it all up this year. Okay? So in any event, you need to give Margaret your complete attention, because financial aid portion of things is one of the most important pieces that you guys can learn, and there's a lot of details to it. So if you would, help me welcome Margaret Betts.
I get to be the most exciting topic at the end of a long day for you. I'm sorry about that. And if you looked at the handout, you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be awful. I can't make it really exciting because it's not really exciting, but it's really important. So my goal today is to give you some information and kind of try to leave you with, if you don't remember anything else when you leave the room, remember this kind of points, okay? I am in the financial aid office. We're in 119 Student Union. So we're kind of off the food court area, back towards behind the bursar's office. We're open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. We're open during the lunch hour, but we're a little bit short-staffed. If you want to see us at the easiest time for you to have no wait, early mornings are probably the best, which are probably not your best, but we certainly welcome you to come at any time. I was a first-generation college student a million years ago when I went to college and didn't have the opportunity to have an SSS program, so I think it's really outstanding that OSU is providing that to you for the government. I want to talk a little bit about academic progress. How many of you are receiving some type of financial assistance to go to school here? Okay, so very few of you can just afford to snooze through this. The handout that I've given you, I'm going to cover some things on it, but I'm going to skip around, frankly. The top page is just some real rudimentary information. Basically, when you receive financial assistance through OSU, whether it's from your FAFSA that you did when you filed hopefully last spring, or it's through a scholarship that you received after you applied for admission, or it's from some other agency that's providing you with a scholarship. There's probably some strings attached to it that you have to meet in order to continue to receive that award. If you're receiving aid through the FAFSA, you can see this whole long list, not all of which apply to undergraduate students, of things that are covered by one policy. And I want to spend a few minutes on that policy because it's an important one for students. There's also a policy to remain in school here. This is different. It's more stringent than the policy to remain in school. And to stay in school, you have to maintain a certain grade point average. And less than 30 hours attempted, 30 or less hours attempted, it's a 1.7, 31 hours or more, it's a 2.0. And that's pretty much it. There are some additional requirements with your financial aid that you have to meet. So I don't want you to be surprised. So we're going to flip over to the next full page. This is really very little white space page that says scholarships and financial aid, satisfactory academic progress policy. You got this when you received your award letter from us. It's linked from every time you log in and look at your financial aid on SIS Web. It's also on our web page under policies, so I want you to know that it's out there for you. There's three parts of it that are really important. The first one is GPA, and that mirrors the university's standards to stay in OSU. So you need to have that 1.7, or frankly, really be looking towards that 2.0 because you don't have very many semesters to have the 1.7. There's also what they call a PACE requirement, and that's the percentage of hours that you attempt that you must complete. So at the end of every semester, we look at all the hours you've attempted, and we calculate, did you complete 67% of those hours? Okay, so 2/3 isn't a really terribly hard thing to complete, but that's another part of that policy. The third part of the policy doesn't get really to affect you until you move a little further on. For those of you who are seniors, juniors perhaps, if you changed majors a lot or transferred in a lot of work, there is a maximum hours requirement that says that you can't receive federal financial aid if you've exceeded 150% of a degree. So if your degree program is 120 hours, 180 hours is the maximum limit, at which point we cut you off and you have to go through some steps to determine if you're eligible for more. This all ties in with the Finish in 4 initiative that the university has. My rules are federal, but they're all part of a larger role to get you in and get you out with the least amount of debt, the least amount of expenses incurred. So if you stay here an extra semester, you're paying for the room and board as well as tuition. And if you stay here an extra year, you're paying for all of that. So that's money you're not earning out of the workplace, or that's a master's degree you're not in the process of pursuing. So we're all trying to get you in and out as reasonably as we can. What I want you to make sure of, if you read anything on this front page of this, is I want you to look down at the bottom. And it says courses/grades used to determine satisfactory academic progress. This is the one that sneaks up on people. When I say we have to look at all the hours you've attempted, I mean all the hours you've attempted. So you can't just go to the bottom of your transcript and see what it says for how many attempted hours you have, because that doesn't include hours you dropped. We have to include hours you dropped. Okay? So every time you get a W in a class, we still have to count that class. Every time you get an incomplete in a class, we're having to count those hours. So you can see successful completion is A, B, C, D. S's if you're taking those classes, P's if you're taking pass-fail. Research hours are for grad students, but if you make a W or an F, or an F shriek, or any of the incomplete grades, or no passes, or used, then those are hours that you counted as attempted, not completed. So if you are in 12 hours this semester, and this is your first semester, and you drop 6, we'll say you did 12 hours, and you completed 50% of those hours, not 67% of those hours. Okay, so be really, really careful. If you remember nothing else that I say to you today, remember this: before you drop a class, come talk to us. Talk to your academic advisors, because they're the ones who help you decide whether you really need to drop a class. We're not going to tell you, yes, you should drop this class, no, you shouldn't drop this class. But we need you to know what the implications for your eligibility are if you drop a class. Okay? So we can run a calculation for you in the office and tell you what the status is. So really, really, really remember that. If you flip it over, you'll see where it talks about what happens if you don't maintain progress. And this is another place where the federal policy differs from the OSU you get to stay here policy. And it's more stringent. If you fail to meet the GPA as a student, just from the registrar's perspective, and you drop, your GPA falls below a 2-point, you're a junior, as long as you continue to make a 2-point every semester, you're good to go on probation with the university. It's not that way with financial aid. Okay? The federal government, via Congress, has said to us, student drops below whatever their GPA requirement is, they get 1 semester of warning, and they receive aid during that semester. If at the end of that semester, they don't meet the cumulative grade point average requirement, they're ineligible at that point. So if you dig yourself a deep enough academic hole, even making a 4.0 the next semester may not bring your cumulative up to the requirement. So be really careful if your GPA is dropping close to that 1.7 or that 2.0 level. And I really strongly recommend you to not be looking at that 1.7 as your benchmark for the 30 hours or less. Because if you're at a 1.7, it is far more difficult to get up to a 2-point than you think it is in 1 semester, because you've already got a number of hours. So just really, I'd be striving for the 2-point. If you don't make that 67% completion, you get a semester of warning. If at the end of that semester you haven't all your hours completed, is it 67%? You're ineligible. So it's a tough policy in terms of being able to continue on after you don't meet the policy. So what happens if you lose your eligibility? You can appeal. We have a faculty committee. It's made up of 4 faculty members from across the campus. Actually 3 faculty members and 1 representative from one of the academic colleges advisors groups who really knows what the advisement side of the house is like. They review every appeal that we get, and we get somewhere in the neighborhood of 700 over the course of a year. And they make those decisions. We don't make those decisions in the financial aid office. They do. And I think it's really to your best interest that they do, because they know what's going on in the classroom, whereas we don't in our office. So I've included, not that I expect any of you to ever use it, But if you end up being ineligible, I've included a copy of the appeal form itself. It takes a little bit of work. It requires you to submit a separate document explaining what happened, why it happened, and how you're going to make sure it doesn't happen in the future. That's what the committee's looking for. Is what happened reasonable? Is it, how are you going to fix it? Or what has changed in your life? And then they're also going to have a copy of your transcript. And they're going to look at your grade trends and what your potential for success is. So they look at the whole picture as they review an appeal. Document. If there's a death in the family, if there's a situation, you need to provide that documentation to us to give to the committee. I will tell you that only the committee, and usually me, reviews those because I prepare the histories for the committee. So they get shredded, one copy stays in your imaged file, nobody else on campus sees those. We can seal them if something really, I mean, we have seen, you name it, we have probably seen some horrible circumstances that students have been through that have caused them to not be able to succeed in this semester. And so don't feel like we're going to be sharing that with any other office. We won't be. If you're seeing someone in the counseling center, you can fill out a form that they will provide us some basic information to document what's going on with you with them. And we also keep that very carefully secure. So, like I said, I hope none of you ever need to use it, but you may possibly. This is the same form that you use if you lose a scholarship that you've been awarded through our office or through the admissions office. So it's all one form. This is separate from applying for reinstatement to the institution if you get academically suspended. They're two separate processes. So while I'm talking about scholarships, one of the things Bianca wanted to make sure I talked about was the eligibility requirements to continue to receive scholarships. How many of you are receiving some sort of a tuition waiver scholarship through OSU? Probably a pretty good portion of you. Are we got any out-of-state students? Are you getting a tuition waiver? Yeah, so that one's really important to you because it takes a chunk off your non-resident tuition. Generally, for tuition waiver scholarships, at the end of the year, now for federal aid, we're looking at cumulative, everything. For scholarships, we're looking at how did you do at the end of the spring, for the fall and the spring semester. Did you complete 28 hours? So that's 14 and 14, or 13 and 15, or however you end up adding that up. And did you maintain a 3.0 GPA for that scholarship, for your cumulative GPA? That's done at the end of every spring. You have until the summer to get it fixed or appeal, and we go from there. Unfortunately, with scholarships, whereas with federal aid, you can become eligible again. Once you lose that scholarship and either don't appeal or don't get it fixed in the summer, it's done. There's no coming back a year later and reinstating that award. So be really, really careful about those requirements. Anybody in here receiving the academic opportunity tuition waiver? Okay. Let me ask kind of an odd question. Are any of you juniors or seniors that are receiving that? Okay. You may be under a different policy than what I'm getting ready to say. So if you're a junior or a senior, depending upon when you got that award for the first time, you probably have a 3.0 28-hour requirement on yours. But a few years back, for new students, we shifted it. We were able to shift it. And it says, if you're eligible to attend OSU, you're eligible to receive the scholarship. So that's good news. You just have to maintain your GPA that's required to remain eligible to attend OSU. So the takeaway from all this is there's all kinds of different requirements out there for different kinds of awards. Read your materials, keep a copy of stuff in the folder, ask questions before, if you think you're getting in deep academically. You guys, your staff calls us periodically and asks us, do we have a student in your office? Bianca did that the other day, it's a question. And you don't have to call me and anyone in our office. The only people who answer our phones, respond to our emails, or talk to students and families in person are full-time professional level staff. We have a lot of students who work in our office, but this is just too critical and too complex to to not have it be fully trained, long-term staff. So you can feel comfortable either emailing us, calling us, or coming in. I don't recommend that you wait until 3:45 on the Friday of the last day to drop to come in, because you may not find a place to sit at that point in time. So think a little bit ahead when you come into the office. How many Oklahoma's Promise students do we have? Probably a lot. That's great. Okay, the last page of this talks about Oklahoma's Promise frequently asked questions. In particular, right now, what I'm focused on with you is that first section that says academic progress. Can we make this any more complicated? Unfortunately, we probably can. These are rules and regulations that are imposed upon us by other agencies, or we wouldn't make it this complicated. But the state regents, via the Oklahoma legislature, has said that if you're an Oklahoma's Promise student who you have to make the academic progress for federal aid purposes, you have to meet that satisfactory progress policy. But in addition, if you started at OSU in the fall 2012 or later, which I think is probably most of you, maybe not all of you, but most of you, then you also have this other requirement that says the end of your sophomore year, what it really means is at the end of when you become classified as a junior, at the point that you've completed 60 hours, you have to have a 2-point CUNY. At the point that you become a senior, you have to have a continuing 2.5 GPA. So it's going up as you go along, which is another reason not to hover right at that 2.0 GPA level. Get it on up there so that if you have a bad semester, you can take the hit. And particularly what this doesn't say is if at the end of your sophomore year in your Oklahoma's Promise, if you don't have that 2.0 GPA, that's not appealable, that's not reinstatable, it's done. State regents will give us the option to have an appeal process for that. So that's a huge chunk of money for you as Oklahoma's Promise recipients. So please, please, please pay attention to that. She also asked me to remind you about the FAFSA. It's a little bit early in the year to really be talking about that. You've done it for this year, I hope. You've all done it for this year and got us all your documents, got your awards, seen your money on your Versar account. You do this every January. It's an annual event. So if you have mortarboard calendars or you have planners, go ahead and write in January 1st, or even better, you know, when you go home for Christmas, that's the time to start talking to mom and dad, or whoever it is, about getting your information for your FAFSA. Because probably if you're in this program, by definition of the requirements to be in this program, you probably have enough financial needs that there's some programs we want to be able to fund you in. But we only have limited money in some of those programs, and they go away pretty quickly. So we want you to apply early and get it in, even if you have to estimate on the form. I'm going to send some information to the staff as we get closer to January that's going to have a lot more detail. I don't expect you to remember what you need to do in January today. Just keep it in the back of your head that you have to do this FAFSA thing every year that you're here. And if you go into grad school, you do it while you're in grad school. The other things that she wanted to make sure I talked about academic opportunity, I talked about Oklahoma's Promise. I'm a little uncomfortable trying to talk to you about the block tuition rate because that's really the Versar's bailiwick, not mine. But what I would tell you is those of you who are, how many of you are being charged from the block rate? Do you know? Okay. You may or may not know, particularly if you're a new student, you never knew any other way other than there's this blank block charge. If you're taking 12 hours or more and you're not Oklahoma's Promise, you're probably being charged the block rate, which is essentially you're being charged at 15 hours, whether or not you're taking 15 hours. But if you're taking 16 or 17 or 18 hours, you're still being charged at 15 hours. So it's, again, the incentive to get you in and get you on through your program. Okay? If you're an Oklahoma's Promise student, you cannot be charged the block rate. You're charged actually by the credit hour because of the way Oklahoma's Promise pays, because it pays for your tuition by the credit hour. So you're not going to be charged the block rate. With the block rate comes an option to bank hours. And this is new at OSU this year, so we're all kind of feeling our way through it. I would really recommend, if you have any questions at all about block rate, that you go to the Bursar's website. They have a whole list of really good Q&As about how it works and what happens if you drop or add during a semester, how you can go in and out of the block. But let's talk about banking hours for a minute, because I wanted to talk about summer financial aid. If you say enroll in 12 hours, my son's in 12 hours. He's a freshman here this year. Yes, I get him no sleep because he's living at home and studying until 3 in the morning. But you take 12 hours in the fall, and you take 12 hours in the spring. You're being charged for 15 in the fall and 15 in the spring. He can use up to 6 hours in the summer of banked tuition hours, which means he's not paying tuition charges on those 6 hours. So he pay fees.
Can you make the three above 15?
You want to make the 3 above 15 because you're getting a break.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the university's not going to let you bank something it's already giving you a discount on. But that's a good question. Yeah, so the maximum that you can use is 6 in the summer. You have to use it here, and it has to be the summer right after the fall, spring. But keep that in mind, because for summer financial aid purposes, tuition waivers don't exist in the summer. Oklahoma's Promise does exist in the summer. We don't have much, if any, supplemental education grants, Oklahoma tuition aid grant, and a lot of the programs that exist are not available in the summer because, frankly, we use every dime we have to get students through the fall and spring because your costs are higher then. Hang on just a second. Now, you can save some money back if you have some to use for summer. But if you're a full-time student, there's not going to be any Pell for you in the summer. You're going to possibly, if you take out all the loans you're eligible for, there's not going to be a lot of loan eligibility in the summer. So what we recommend you do is, well before you would enroll for summer school, as you're getting ready to enroll for next fall and you're talking to your advisor, come by and see us, or call us, or email us, and let us give you a sense of what you might be eligible for summer. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Margaret.
Hi. Can you explain again the banking the hours? So you're saying, so if I were to take 12 credit hours in the fall and in the spring, I could take how many credit hours in the summer?
And frankly, here's my disclaimer, in case Laurie Dees from Bursar's office ever hears I talked about it. It's a Bursar thing, so you really want to look at their webpage. They have a really good page about banking. But here's the trick. If you're in the block, so Oklahoma's Promise students, you can tune me out for a minute because this doesn't apply to you. If you're being charged block rate, you're being charged for 15 hours, okay? 15 hours, but your actual hours are, say, 12, okay? So that's fall, and this is spring. In the spring, you're being charged for 15, and you take 12, okay? So essentially what they're going to do, sorry to turn my back on the camera, is they're going to say, they being the university, you're charged for 30 hours over the course of the year. You had 24 that you actually took. So 30 minus 24 is 6. There's no more than 6. You can't bank more than 6 hours. If instead you had actually taken 15, you would only be eligible for 3. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're in the block in the fall, but you're in 9 hours in the spring, and so therefore you're not charged block because you have to be a full-time student to be charged block, you still only get 3. Okay. So it is complicated, but the Bursar's website is really, really good, and it has some great questions. Yes, sir?
And there still comes some miscellaneous fees though, right?
You still, that is the block rate, which is how the university is referring to it at this point. For those of you that have been around a while, we always had general tuition charges, and then we had university fees, and then we had the college fees. Okay? They were all separately charged. We still do for students like Oklahoma's Promise, but for the block, you're charged a block rate of 15 hours worth of tuition and regular university fees. So the Okali fee, the this, the that, all that stuff that's in there are included in the block. What's not included in the block is that X number of dollars per credit hour out of arts and sciences and X number of dollars per credit hour out of engineering, depending upon the classes that you're taking. Those fees go back to the actual colleges, so they're not included in the block. If you bank, it's that block that you get in the summer, but you're still responsible for those college fees. If you take 6 hours in arts and sciences, it's $7 credit hour, something like that. Back in, not you, but behind you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so my question is, what if you are, because I have spring and then I graduate, I'm going to be taking 12 in the spring, but I'm going to be charged for 15.
No, you're actually, okay, really good question. And again, I'm not the bursar's office. I just read their website. That's why I'm able to answer your questions. I read the website at about 4:45 this afternoon, as a matter of fact. Because tuition's due on Tuesday and everybody's in our office right now. So there are some exceptions to being charged the block rate, but you have to make application for that. It's an online form that you do from the Bursar. There's a link from the Bursar's website. There are some really basically, let me see if I can find it in my notes really quick because I know we're running out of time. If there are some examples for which an exception can be made, and they include students with disabilities or health issues that would have to be documented, seniors who need less than 15 hours in a semester to graduate.
Okay, so that's me.
Yep, that's you. But you would have to do this form because they're not going to know that.
Right.
So you're going to have to identify yourself and document, either you've applied for graduation or whatever it's going to be. I don't know what the documentation is. There are separate forms for separate criteria of reasons why. It also goes on to say students who are doing study abroad or reciprocal exchange aren't charged the block. Students who are completing an internship, students who are limited to fewer than 15 hours in a semester due to curricular structure. If you're in a really structured program that X courses are only offered in the spring, there's no point in you taking courses you don't need for that. So that's an exception that can be made as well. If you're in an official university-sponsored activity to which you have to commit 25 or more hours a week for a substantial portion of the term, or if you're under some contractual agreement, academic or scholarship, that limits your enrollment to less than 15 credit hours. So,
you said if somebody has an internship,
if you're gone on internship, you may take 3 hours or something.
Yeah, like away from school?
Yeah.
So like a summer internship or like
Well, yeah. There's no block in the summer. So, but if you were on a spring internship, we have engineering students who go do co-ops and internships and stuff like that. You're not going to be charged the block. It's not stated in here, but I would assume, and that will get me in serious trouble, so you need to ask questions. If you're doing student teaching, because you're typically in a 12-hour block for student teaching, even though you're gone for part of the semester. So if you're going to do your education majors, you're planning to student teach in the semester, make sure you talk to the bursar about that. And I think things will become clearer as exceptions show up. They put a lot of effort and thought into answering questions, talk to a lot of students as they were going through it to try to figure it out. You had a question for me?
What if you just want to stay on 14 one semester and like 18 next?
I can't answer that question. It's a really good question. What if you do 14 hours one semester and 18 the next? I mean, it would stand to reason to me that you would not be able to bank anything, but that's really something I'm not going to go through the entire FAQ, but I'm sure it's in there that would tell you that. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question about sometimes, like, so if I want to take summer financial aid, if I want to take summer classes, like last summer I wasn't able to do financial aid stuff, I need to come now.
No, that's a great question. Thank you, Fran. I couldn't have paid you to ask that question. For summer financial aid, because we got off topic, completely from that. All we need for you to do, summer is the end of the award year. Okay? So your FAFSA information is good for fall, spring, and summer. But if we were to award everyone for fall, spring, and summer, all of you would have thirds instead of halves. You get half in fall, half in the spring. And for those of you not doing summer school, that would not be advantageous for you. And since the majority of our students don't enroll in summer school, even though it doesn't seem like it in the middle of June, we don't do that. We give you everything we can in the fall and spring. So we don't know what your plans are. So we have an online form that you can do usually when enrollment opens for summer. You can come in and talk to us before that, and we can tell you whether you have any potential eligibility left or not.
Can you make a note on like our, I know like I went to Inner City before transferring here, and what they would do is I would go in and sign a form and say, I am planning on taking this many hours.
It's an online form.
Okay.
Where you do the same thing.
Okay.
And we're just so big
Like I would be online.
that it's automated.
Okay.
But, you know, I would still encourage you to come in and talk to us at some point. Not the first week of classes in the spring, because you don't want to be in our office the first week of classes in the spring. It's kind of crazy. But, you know, February, as you get ready to think about it, or you could come in now and we could tell you, based on what it looks like you're going to get, yes, you can have some eligibility, or no, you're not. So you can at least plan. And while you said NOC, if any of you are taking NOC Stillwater classes, those classes count as part of the block. Okay, so for instance, my son's taking an NOC math class. He's in 12 hours including that math class, and he's charged the block rate. So just for you to know as you go along. Other questions? Bianca, did I cover everything you wanted me to cover?
Yes, I think you did. If you kind of want to do a end on work study, because I've been getting a lot of work study questions from work study students who have not yet found a job.
Yes, you need to do that, because there will come a point in time where we will cancel those awards if you're not working. So, another work study. It's one of those programs I talked about earlier where I said we have lots of programs, we have several programs where we have a really small amount of money and we run out of it really quickly. Work study is one of those. We haven't gotten an increase in our allocation from the federal government probably 15 years. So, that money goes away quickly. Students who don't want it, we cancel it if they don't accept it or they reject it, and then we try to reward it again. We've been doing that throughout the summer, and we're kind of done at this point. So if you have a work study award and you want to work, you need to get a job. Work study is not where we pay you to study. Work study is where you have a part-time job. Okay? Work study is advantageous to you. How many of you have a work study award before I go far in this? Okay, great. Work study is advantageous to you for a couple of reasons. One, it's typically either on campus or it's in an off-campus community service agency. And in both of those cases, we know you're a student. We're sensitive to the fact that you're a student. We know you're going to have final schedules. All of them, you're not going to be here during the break. It's not Walmart. You know, it's not where they're out to they need to make a profit, and they need you when they need you. It's also advantageous to you because when you do next year's FAFSA, you have to report all your income from this last year. You include your work study in that. But then you, in a later part, take the work study back out. So it's not counted against you as income. It could reduce your financial need and make you less eligible for other aid. Okay? So it's a real benefit to you. Typically, we recommend that you not work more than 19 hours a week. 19, really more like 12 to 15 if you're a full-time student. Because studies show time and again, if you get above that, you're going to crash and burn at some point in the semester, and something's going to suffer, your health, your grades, or your job. And so we really recommend that you keep that at a part-time. To find work-study jobs, go out to career services. Probably some of you just talked to them, didn't you? HigherOceanGrads.com. At this point, this year, all jobs that are on campus are supposed to be being advertised through career services, even if they're advertised someplace else. So that would be the primary place to look. We also have some jobs for community service agencies. We hire students who tutor at the elementary schools. So if you're interested in doing math or reading tutoring with elementary age kids, we actually do that hiring in our office. And so there are still some jobs available. It's getting tougher and tougher to find them though, because, they're being filled. So you want to take care of that as quickly as you can. What other things did you want me to cover beyond that about work study?
Well, pretty much like when will that actually like expire? Like, so let's say a student has been trying to find a job, but they can't find a job until October or November. When do you say, okay, you haven't found a job, but we're canceling your bill?
Good question. It depends is the answer on where we are in the office and what it looks like funding-wise, but we will always send an email to you two to 3 weeks in advance.
Okay.
Saying, hey, if you don't get a job by X date, or you don't come in and talk to us, we're going to assume that you don't want this money, and we're going to figure out who else would want it. Because we really only have about 700 work-study students to make our payroll for the year. And so we have other students who are interested in it if you have it and you're not. Sometimes offices on campus don't realize how big a benefit work study is for them. If I hire a work study student, I pay 30% of their wages and the federal government pays the rest. So I can hire 3 of you for the price of 1. So if you're talking to a department and they're looking to hire students, but it's not a work study job, and you think, hey, I got a work study award, you should really want to hire me because you can get 3 of me for what it costs you to pay 1 student who doesn't have work study. Now, for those of you who don't have work study, I said we have about 700 students on work study. Work study only comprises about 20% of all the student jobs on campus. So there are jobs for non-work study students here as well. So that's what I know. For future years, if you're not encouraging your students to do the part-time job fair, that's a great place for them to go. Because a lot of our community service agencies are there as well. So, anything else? It's 6:30. It's not my fault.
I know, right?
If you all have individual questions, we are going to go ahead and close up, but you can feel free to get Margaret's contact information. I have it, so.
And again, I'm going to interrupt you. Anybody in our office can answer your questions. I'm probably the SAP expert, academic progress expert, but that's only when it gets really complicated and crazy. Most of the staff can do everything that I just did for you, and they're available on a walk-in basis. So you can come into the office, sign in on the little link group that we've got in front, and it tells you how long the wait's going to be, and you can just see anybody. I'm happy to talk to you, but I'm not always available, so I don't want you to think that I'm the only person that you can talk to in the office. Okay?
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, guys.
That's why we wanted you to definitely get the information now. So as you're an underclassman and you're progressing, you don't fall into some of those problems where you may have a SAT violation where you haven't been progressing correctly, and then you lose your financial aid, and then we can't help you because now you have to take a semester where you got to pay out of pocket. And then for some that's not possible, and before you know it, you have to stop out for a little while. And it takes you 6 years to graduate instead of 4. So definitely we want you to have that information. But guys, what we're going to transition now is talk to you about SSS. And kind of give you, this year we have some new changes, but we also have a lot of new students, a lot of new faces. We replace about 60 students into our program. Each year we serve 140 students. And of course, we keep you until you graduate, or maybe you decide you don't want to be here at OSU anymore and you go elsewhere. But as long as you're here and you're an undergrad, you're going to be in our program, and we're going to provide you the type of support that you need. And for everyone, it's going to be different. What Arnisha needs, she comes to me for letters of recommendation for internships, and for graduate school, and then she yells at Justin. Where, Sedelia is completely different. I mean, she goes down there to study. And, I mean, sometimes she is by herself, sometimes it's with tutor help, but what she needs is completely different than Arnisha. And just like with the rest of our students, I mean, your needs are going to be different. So tell your coordinator where they can help you. I want to introduce just our team and let them tell you a little bit about themselves real quick, where they're from, because we're all from different places, and I want you to understand that. And I also want to introduce our tutors. So, and I'll let Justin do that since Justin is our tutor coordinator. But just to tell you a little bit about myself, guys, like I said earlier, my name is Jesus Reygosa. I am from Odessa, Texas. If any of y'all have seen the movie Friday Night Lights, I'm from that town. I went to the other school, the one that didn't win all the football games. So, unfortunately, that's part of it. But guys, I want you to know that I'm very laid back. Some of y'all will tell you that. You know, I'll joke with you. That is my character. My nickname is Juice. A lot of the students who have known me for a long time call me Juice. I'm okay with you calling me Juice. I used to work at a Boys and Girls Club. All the kids call me Juice. When I worked at other universities, everybody called me Juice. You're okay to call me Juice. I'm not the type of individual you got to call me Mr. Reygosa. Now, unfortunately, because I have changed positions, I'm no longer in the coordinator position. Now, I've got to do a lot of the administrative work and administrator work. I don't get to work with you one-on-one, so you won't see my face a lot like you do our coordinators. So mainly what you'll see me is when we go on trips, when we're working with Grant Aid, or if I have to tell you, hey, you need to come see me because you haven't been participating in the program and we need to talk about whether you still want to be around or not. But guys, that doesn't mean my door isn't open. My door is always open. And as some of the students that I advise for different organizations, you well know that my door is always open. Sometimes I'm busy, you got to shoot me a text or shoot me a message and tell me, hey, are you in your office so we can talk? But no matter what, guys, I will always make time for you. So I'm on the 4th floor. I've switched offices so many times. I'm at 429. I'm in the corner on the 4th floor. So we're next to our tutor rooms. So 426, 427, 428 are our tutor rooms. And then 429 is where my office is. And those tutor rooms, guys, they're available for tutoring, but they're also available for you to reserve for just some quiet study time. I know our #1 star up there, wait, Andrea. No, it's Andrea. Hey, Susie, you've been up there, Susie. Andrea got you clocked on hours, so she'll stay up there till 7 o'clock at night working on stuff. So you got to jump on it, Susie. Everybody fights for room 426. I don't know why. I feel like just lazy to go further down. But guys, those rooms are available for you. I know sometimes it gets very competitive in the library to reserve some of those rooms, especially during midterms and finals. But you can get with Justin or even with Kiara downstairs and get one of those rooms. Yes, ma'am.
When are they available? Like, what's the time?
They're available from 8 in the morning to 5 o'clock. But if you make special arrangements with me, then I'll figure out something if we need them later in the evening. Usually the building closes at 8 o'clock. So once the building closes, that's where it becomes a little bit difficult. But if we need to arrange something, we can. 418, which is for those of you who were in RISE, you guys remember how you would always study on that right end of where they have the tables and the chairs. That other end is ours. RISE shares it with us, but we can also make arrangements where if you have a study group and if you just want it to be your study group, we can go ahead and reserve that for you. But guys, the resources are there. We want you to use them. So definitely anything we can do, let us know and we'll try our best to accommodate. But I'll turn it over to Bianca and Justin and we'll go from there.
Hey y'all, my name is Bianca. I feel like I know most of you all. But for those of you who don't know me, I have been here for a year officially. I'm officially from St. Louis, Missouri. So, I am not, I'll tell all my students I'm not far removed from you all because I actually just graduated myself last year. And so I understand the struggle. I understand what it's like to need help and need support. And so even if you are just a student, if you are not necessarily assigned to me, please don't hesitate to come and ask me questions because, and the same thing with my students, like most of my students already go, so, but still, please don't hesitate to come and ask me questions. I know sometimes, within these last few weeks, it's just been
been really busy. And so if you felt like maybe we haven't gotten to you as quickly as we used to, or maybe our response has been a little slow, or you feel like you haven't gotten the services that you need, you come and you talk to us, because we understand it has been really busy and really hectic in our office. And we want to make sure that you all are getting the help that you need. I know Jesus mentioned a lot of changes, and one of the things that I'm personally doing is, with my students, is we're meeting for 45 minutes instead of 30 minutes. And just to give us some time to kind of go through that. Doesn't mean you have to stay the whole 45 minutes, because you don't. 20 minutes, that's fine too. But just so, we can have a little more time. And the next thing that I want to cover really quick, because I know time is coming to an end, is, did you already cover grant A reporting form? Okay, so we have a new grant A reporting form, and it should be in your folders. And I don't think we have a copy of it. Can someone hold up their grant A reporting form? And can I borrow it? Okay, so this is what your new grant A reporting form looks like. And so it's super easy to do. One of the reasons why we started doing this grant A reporting form is because a lot of students would come in and say, oh, what do I need to be eligible for grant A? Oh, what do I need, in order to stay active in the program? And so this helps you. You get to keep this. Not only do you have this copy, you also have it electronically on your USBs that you have around your neck. You will also get this when you meet with your coordinators. So you'll have a variety of times and options to get this form, and we will continue to talk about it. But it's really simple. This first paragraph talks about just what you need in order to be eligible for our grant.
And one thing, not to interrupt, but I'm going to. Guys, we offer 25 $1,000 grant scholarships, but we also offer a $1,000 just trio scholarship. To be eligible for the grant aid, you have to be Pell eligible, so you have to get at least a portion of it. Even if it's the lowest amount, you just have to get some Pell. But some of you aren't low income, so you don't get Pell, and you only get student loans. Well, that's what that $1,000 scholarship is. I know it sounds like, well, it's only one, but guys, the competition isn't that great. And we'll reserve it only for non-Pell eligible. So if you are Pell eligible, you're only going to compete within the 25 group. And then for the non-ones, they'll compete for the $1,000 trio scholarship. If you're not Pell eligible, guys, go ahead and still do a lot of things that Bianca's going to mention, because there's still an opportunity for you to get some money out of this.
And just real quick while we're on requirements, the top box is it's just our basic program requirements. Meeting with us at least 3 times a semester, completing your 5 hours of community service, attending 3 mandatory workshops which will start in October, and we'll send you out those mandatory workshops electronically. And this is going to be a big one, I think this is our biggest change. If you all who are sophomores, maybe even transfer students, juniors, seniors, if you have a cumulative GPA, that's your overall GPA, that's less than a 3.0, you have to start clocking in mandatory tutoring, study hall hours, homework hours, and recording them. I know that if you are doing tutoring, with Justin has you hooked up. I think that they track that, and so you may not have to worry about that, but for those who are not doing it through our program, we will need you to fill out this form if you want grant aid for this academic term.
Guys, and we'll let you double dip. So to me, if you're in Rise and you're already doing study hours, that counts. You don't have to do additional hours for us. I just want to make sure you're doing it somewhere on campus, and that's mainly the important part.
And that is really for you, because we just want to make sure that, if you do have questions on how to study or how to do this problem, that we're there for you. But and we're not even going to require you to necessarily do it in our SSS Resource Center. If you want to go to LASSO or to the library, that's fine. But make sure you use this verification form, which are the boxes below and on the back, to track that. And then last, of course, is where you all are at now, which is our orientation. Our SSS Fall Kickoff, so you can check this box, you already know the requirement. Now, the second box is for bonus points, And bonus points is anything above and beyond. And so if you do more than 5 community service hours, that counts as extra points. If you go to cultural events, that counts as extra points. If you go to optional workshops that are not mandatory, those are also extra points. And that just makes you more competitive for the scholarship, for our grant aid. At the bottom, when tracking your tutoring, service hours, or cultural events, it's pretty easy. You just check a box. Please just check one. I know my students know this, but just check one where it says check one. Don't check all the boxes and try to put all the information in one box. I know it's silly, but just say I want to get that out there just in case. I've had questions. And so just make sure, if, for example, if you're doing your tutoring, make sure you just put in where you're doing it at, the date and the hours, and then just have somebody sign off on it. It's the same for your community service, and it's the same for your cultural event. Except for the cultural event, you don't have to put the hours down. You can just say that you've gone. And of course, if you go to a cultural event, make sure you bring the program back or be able to at least talk about it with us.
Usually the easiest thing is just, there's some ticket stuff, just bring it in. And then even you can bring that out throughout the year and then we'll just stick it in your file. Also guys, if you're doing service learning and you're registered through their office and you're entering your information in their system, you can just print off the transcript at the end of the semester and bring that to us as well.
If you don't have any questions about this reporting form, make sure you fill it out. You all have until December 12th to turn this into us, on or before December 12th. I think I speak for the whole SSS staff when I say we, more than likely, unless you come and talk to us, won't accept it after that date. But of course, if you will have, special circumstances, you always can come and talk to us and we'll try to figure something out. But make sure you do this. If you lose it, we'll give you a new one, but you still have to fill out information. So, any questions? Okay.
As far as the study hours go, where do you put that at?
The same with the verification form. So you can either check that you're doing tutoring, and tutoring also means study hall hours. It's the same thing. Just check that box, put your location, the date that you're doing it, how many hours, and just get somebody to verify. So for example, if people are already studying at SSS, just come to me. You can go to Jesus, you can go to Justin.
Well, the other thing you can do, guys, the kiosk, whenever you log in, there is a selection button for study hall hours. If you sign in when you get there and sign out when you leave, it'll record it automatically for you. And then your first time, just grab me or grab Justin, and we'll show you which one to select, and that will count as well. Because I'll just print off a report at the end of the semester, and I'll be able to say that you were there for that time.
But make sure that you do that, and because if you don't, let's say you forget to sign out and you just tell me, oh, I've done it, we don't have any proof. So just make sure, you all need to be signed into the kiosk today. But just if you forget, just make sure you're filling it out on some type of documentation.
And that's, the kiosk is that little laptop that's up front. If you have an appointment with the staff, just sign in real quick. At the very top, it'll show you your appointment, but it also sends them a message letting them know that you're here. So they know to poke their head around as well.
Well, I'm done. I'm going to give it over to Justin and Peter.
Anyone have a quick question? I thought I saw
down over here.
Oh, yeah.
So when is that awarded?
What will end up happening, everybody who meets the minimum qualifications, and the minimums listed there, will be able to apply for the grant aid. And so as soon as that deadline comes out, we'll email during the Christmas break, and you can get a little bit into January. It's just real short essay questions, nothing massive, and that will, you get so many points for that. Then we add all the points you've occurred throughout the semester, and then that gets added to you, whether you fall in that 0.5 category, the top 25.
All right. Any other quick questions? The grant aid is one of our more, and we'll admit it, one of our more challenging, confusing areas. That's why we like to have this dialogue. So if you guys do have questions about it at any point, because quite frankly, we're doing this worksheet, I still have questions about it. This is the first time that we've done this. So I tell my students that we'll work through it together. If you have questions, ask us. Okay, very simple. Yeah, my name is Justin Morris, for those of you who don't know me yet. If you're brand new to the program, if this is your first semester in the program, raise your hand. See, good now. Man, see, she gives me grief all the time. Welcome. I know I've told my students that I've got to meet with so far. Welcome to the program. I'm very much looking forward to you. Unlike Bianca, I am very far removed from you. I'm the oldest of the three, I'll admit to it. You might be surprised, but I am the oldest of the three. So I get a lot of my heart is broken, I lost my job, the parental type stuff, okay? In addition to the academic side of stuff. You guys, I think this is true for all of us. We're here for you, whatever your story is, wherever your life is at this point in time. That's why we're here, okay? We're here to help you walk down that road wherever you're going. I've been without talent. See, I almost said talent search. Let's see. Anybody a trio student prior to SSS, by the way? One or a few of you. Okay. Yeah. So some Upward Bound, some talent search folks. I was a talent search person before I became a student support service guy. Okay. So trio has a long history, particularly with me, with Jesus, and some of you. Okay. I'm going to get right to the point though. I work with the tutoring side of stuff. I want to introduce a couple of really special people to me because I have to trust them that they're helping you the best that they can. Zach, if you'll stand up, and then Anna, you're holding the camera. Will you at least wave to everybody? All right, and then I cannot not say someone that I dearly love and for this program. Tiffany was our longest tenured tutor for the program.
Come back.
Yep, and she's welcome back anytime. Okay, so
Even if you just want to volunteer.
Volunteer.
Amen. Okay, so as you can tell, our staff, they're part of you guys. Zach and Anna, they're students within this program. You guys are who we work with and who we work for and who we believe in. Is Kiara in here? No. Okay. Kiara has also become a very important part of our team. You guys say thank you to her when you see her. I know Chap is, Chap and Kiara, they're almost inseparable. And so, but really, the SSS Center, that's your home, at least for us. It's a safe place. We want you guys there. We want to see you there. You make our days. Bianca and I don't see anything from the outside world except for you guys. So we need to see your face, all right? Real quick, if you have tutoring questions, please come see me. Okay, we're doing some different things. We have some open walk-in hours. We've never done that before. We're very short-handed in terms of tutors. We normally run with 4 or more. We have 2 really quality ones. We're still looking for a study skills person. All right. So if you know someone who can help us on that end, send them my way. Anything else with tutoring? I covered all pretty quick. Okay. All right. Last thing, study hall hours. I've spent a good portion of this week with half a dozen different students creating study hall hours with them. If you want to come and get assistance creating those types of study hall hours, come see myself or Bianca, and we can work that out with you if you're a little confused on how that works. All right. I'm going to stop talking. Thank you guys for coming.